Everybody, welcome back to another episode of FSi DFS Fantasy Baseball Picks. I'm your host, Mega Ruler 31. Yesterday was okay. I mean, the Astros getting shut out by Waldachuk was interesting. Valdez did okay. I mean, he gave a couple runs, had 10 strikeouts in that one. Woodruff was really good. Milwaukee went off, put up 12. So, I thought that the Marlins pitcher would do a little bit better there. And then the Cubs, I mean, it was like a 5-3 game, so it wasn't like an explosive game and not Wrigley in a Coors like we thought it'd be. So, but the Texas rookie there hit home run for me. He was so cheap. I had him a lot of lineups as a punt outfielder, so that was definitely helpful. I don't think he'll be in the lineup today because there's a lefty It'll be lefty on lefty against Ryu, but we're on to today. So this is supposed to be 11 game slate because Kansas City and Chicago White Sox got rained out. It's doubleheader. They have been taken off slate. Notes already up on DK, but I fear that the Yankees and Red Sox will also be taken off the slate. So I've not seen any indication of that. It's about 6 something in the morning right now today, but just keep in mind that. So I'm going to approach this late as if that game's not happening, because I think they probably will pull at some point. So let's go through things here today. Not as many weather concerns, which isn't bad. Texas and the Blue Jays with Scherzer and Ryu. I think Scherzer's way overpriced. I know he's been really good against righties, and this isn't the full strength Toronto lineup going out there. But still, 11-3, he just hasn't been going as deep as the games. His Ks are down a bit, so I don't know if I can touch him in there. I think he's still in consideration for GVP, but I don't know if I really want him in cash. And Ryu, lefty against a really good Texas lineup at times where they can put runs together like they finally did it towards the end of the game last night. So definitely going to be I don't know. I don't really want much Ryu either. So Rangers, I think, are make the top GPP stack here. Even Seager's fine lefty and lefty here. Grossman moves up. It's kind of cheap. Garver, at catcher, even though it was Heim yesterday, hit the grand slam. So Ezekiel Duran, I've liked him all season long. Maybe look at like Simeon or Day Off or something who like be leading off and hitting up high. So there's a lot of Tavares as switch hitter. There's a lot of decent pieces here. And besides like Seager and Simeon, the rest of the team is like I wouldn't play low, probably lefty on lefty. So the rest of the team here that you're going to consider playing is like 4-3 or less. So not bad at all, like in GPP. Toronto, I think there'll be a leverage stack against Scherzer, but I think they'll be fine. But like, where do you go here? Again, I guess just take usual suspects. And if you want a one-off, Biggio at like 2.9 has been doing decent, filling in, hitting in the middle of the order. So that's just probably the only Toronto bat that I'll look to play today. I said they skip the Yankees and Red Sox right now. It has Rodon and Cutter Crawford. If Crawford does get the start in the late game, I think he's cheap and definitely in consideration here if you need something. And depending if the game's going to play, with the wind's blowing in at like 5 miles per hour, but it doesn't look like it's going to rain. It looks like it'll be fine. But I also, always consider lefty bats. But if it's going to be Rodon, Raphael, their rookie that they just called up here, could be a definitely leading off and be someone with speed and power that you want to consider there. Turner, Duvall, Reese Snyder. I mean, you can make a nice little stack there. And Devers, lefty on lefty is fine also. So just if the Red Sox game is on there, then there's some pieces there. Take Crawford, take the righties, and throw Devers in the stack. And I wouldn't touch the Yankee side of that one. Arizona Diamondbacks and the New York Mets, Ryan Nelson and Jose Butto. Butto doesn't go deep in the games. Ryan Nelson has struggled all season, so I love this game offensively. He's got a 10 total here. So I'm going to stack both sides of it. Lots of good plays. Still like Lawler as a cheap shortstop punt. The guy hasn't completely put it together yet, but he's a prospect on Arizona that, they finally moved on from Armand there, and I think he's going to be, even though Perdomo still gets in the lineup every so often, Lawler, I think, is going to be somebody in the future. It's really another young piece to this team that's going to help them continue. And then the Mets on the other side, Nemo, Alonso, I'd even take McNeil. Stewart should be back in the lineup. Mauricio, switch hitter. There's Vogelbach, if he gets in, there's lots of nice pieces here. So I like them as my fourth favorite stack. And again, they're relatively cheap. Also, they're not super expensive with some of the pieces that you can throw in there. Tampa Bay, Minnesota, we have Zach Little and Joe Ryan. Little has actually pitched quite a few games. He was in the bullpen and he's come out and been a start. He's getting pretty stretched out. So he goes like 4 or 5 innings. Actually, he's gotten some quality starts on FanDuel. So he's made it to that point. So definitely somebody in consideration here for an SP2 and GPPs. If you want to punt and go with him as SP1 to get a bunch of bats in, then that's fine too. Joe Ryan on the other side is continuing to get healthy. Like Tampa Bay had a good offensive game last night, but I think Ryan's definitely a play here. And so Tampa Bay, I think, would be just like a leverage stack if Ryan continues to be in pretty good form. Wind blowing in 10 miles per hour, so that definitely helps with neutralize Tampa Bay's power, and it's more of a pitcher's park too. But Minnesota, I like as a cheap stack of bats here also, with Julian leading off at 3.8. Krylov is back at first base if you want to punt there at 2.8. Kepler at 3.9. Wallner has moved up into the middle of the order. He's 3.2. So even Castro on the bottom as a wraparound option at 3.1 for third base outfield is. I've had trouble like filling third base today in most of my lineups. So he's definitely someone also to look at there. So definitely like some Minnesota cheap bats to try to make some expensive stacks work. Marlins, it looks like JT Charrigos is going to open the game, followed by Edward Cabrera. I think Cabrera is still in play here, but I mean, this whole mid-range today is don't really like it. It was almost like a couple videos ago I had the whole range like highlighted in yellow just because I was just like there's nothing super exciting. If you land on them, you land on them. Like cash wise, I just think completely avoid it. Go high, go low. Peralta on the other side, I think, is definitely between he and Verlander, top pitchers on the slate here. They got some Marlins. They got shut out yesterday. Like Woodruff had a complete brain game shutout. So I'm not saying the same is going to happen, but I don't see Soler back in the lineup, and they just have not been hitting well recently. So I think that bodes well for Peralta. Also, plus the bullpen's completely rested. So, I mean, does that mean he's not going to go deep into the game because they have them fresh? I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. Bat-wise, Miami would just be a leverage stack. In Milwaukee, again, I don't think they're going to put up 12 runs on this combination, but, there's definitely, they've been hitting better. Yelich should be back in lineup. He's dealing with back issues, had that on off last couple of years. Contreras, it's okay, even though it's righty on righty. Santan's switch hitter there. Sal Frelick, I like him hitting in the 4 hole there. Adames has been hot recently too. Kind of let off and hit a home run last night, but righty on righty, I don't know if I like him as much in this matchup, but Terang has speed and power. So there's some cheap options on Milwaukee. Next up, we have no, we don't. The Royals and the White Sox are not on the slate. So we would go to the Athletics and the Astros. And I said, as opening the video, frustrating yesterday that Houston, in a great situation, couldn't get a hit. Sears has been decent also recently. It's not like a pushover or gas can or anything, but I think hopefully the Houston lineup puts it together today. Verlander, I think, is the top pitcher on the slate here. I think he'll be good. Ace, if you want to take a leverage check and like home run hunt and take like a Noda or Brown or Lance Butler, I think those are the 3 to look at. But the rest of them, I'm just not really interested in anything more than probably a 3-man stack there that's relatively cheap. And Butler's like back down to 2K, so sometimes he leads off. So if you need a cheap punt outfielder to make your line work, I think that there's somebody to look at if you're not, even if you are if you are playing Verlander, if it's just one home run that he gives up and that's it, and then he goes and gets like 10 strikeouts and goes like 6-7 innings and the rest is clean, then I think you're perfectly fine. Astros side, give me the righties. Altuve, Pena, I like this, moved up to the 2 holes. The 4-4 is a cheaper part of the stack. I mean, if you can get Alvarez and Tucker in there, that's fine. You might, if Diaz is in there at catcher or DH, then another one to look at. So Houston, try my second favorite stack and a pivot off of Coors, which now we're here at Coors. So 71 degrees, wind blowing across the field at 10 miles per hour. Javier Assad and Chris Flexen. Assad hasn't been bad, and I played some Wicks yesterday, and he didn't do bad either in Coors. I know the Rockies are getting healthier. Blackman's back, Bryant's back, so they're starting to look a little bit more like we thought they would, but still. I think in GPPs, if you want a cheap pitcher, then Assad's in play, and Flexen on their side is an absolute no. Cubs, I don't know, people might be off of them, but if you looked at the cover of the video and you're like, who's this guy? Pete Crow Armstrong is getting called up, a top 20 prospect, speed, some power, great defensive player. He might lead off over Tauchman. We'll have to see. Right now, the projected line has Tauchman, it has him batting like 7th or 9th, but that's fine for a wraparound. So whatever Cubs you want, I think Bellinger would be probably more highly owned today because it's lefty on righty instead of lefty on lefty. But don't count out the righties. Flexen, especially in his KBO days, was reverse splits. So, and the Rockies bullpen's not good either. So I think definitely they're in play, and the Colorado on the other side is a GPP stack. If you don't trust Assad, then you can definitely play some there. I mean, I normally tell you to take like McMahon, but he's been pretty cold. I think I'd rather maybe even just take some of the righties and Nolan Jones and see what happens. Angels and Mariners, Patrick Sandoval and Brian Wu. I have Sandoval in the no interest category just because the Mariners have a lot of right-handed power and hit lefties well. But I mean, if you need somebody at GPP, I think he's fine. Brian Woo's coming back from being injured, but he started off really good, had a lot of strikeouts, but was giving up like a lot of hits and walks. But his strikeouts have been down, but his hits and walks have been down also. So he's kind of more balanced pitcher. But against his Angels lineup, even again, like you said yesterday, if Tani's in there, just pitch around him. There's really not much here. So I think he's definitely someone to consider. And I think a lot of people are probably going to play like Verlander or Wu as their 2 pitchers today in cash. Angels bats, and again, I think they make an intriguing stack if you want to take some of the lefties here, like Shanuel and Moustakas, and depending on who else is in the lineup as a lefty there. If you want to take a mini stack, that's fine. If you think Wu struggles or just isn't right coming back after injury, and definitely like the righties here against Sandoval. So Julio Rodriguez, Tasco Hernandez, Suarez really hasn't hit lefties as well as you think he would, but I think he's fine there. Clinic is back in the lineup, even though he's a lefty. He was good lefty and lefty. I think once he heats up again, I think he might move back up and close to the top of the lineup. He's in about 6 now. Caballero's fine. We'll have to see who the catcher is, Riley, but would think also that I don't see him in the projected lineup, but definitely we'll just have to see who the righties are in that lineup. And Dylan Moore, there he is, hitting 7th. He's also one that I like there. Cleveland Guardians and San Francisco Giants. Cal Quantrill, and it says Sean Manaea is gonna pitch, which he's been like a long reliever since I don't think he started a game since before Memorial Day. So I'm highly skeptical on this. I think that we'll see a news flash or a roster alert saying that so-and-so is going to open ahead of Manaea, or that we find out Manaea goes 2 or 3 innings and then they bring in somebody else behind him, like Wood or somebody. So I don't trust them. I just can't do this. And Cleveland's such a low strikeout matchup. I can't do it either. And Quantrill on the other side, I'm not really interested in either. The Giants are going to throw out 400 left-handed bats against them. They can't do that because they have some injuries, but they'll have some righties in the lineup. But it's definitely a good matchup for the Giants. So Cleveland, if you want to take some of the righty, I'm not going to take Ramirez as a one-off because there's really nobody around him, but Laureano and Fry and Freeman, like if you want to take a cheap 3-man stack there, and I do have them in Arias. I have some of those plays in my Cub stacks to try to get like Verlander and a decent SP2 in there. So I did have to bend and use some Guardians to make one of my lineups work tonight. And San Francisco on the other side, I like the cheap plugins, but I always know that they're always like kind of pinch hit risks. So, and then the final game, and it had a lot of offense last night. I think it was like 10-8 was the final. The Padres and the Dodgers. I thought Manny Machado was good, close to done for the year, and I think he had did he have 2 home runs last night? I know he had at least one. So you have Waka and Lance Lynn. Both pitchers have had decent outings this year, and both pitchers have had questionable outings this year. So don't know which is going to happen, but I think both teams are good offensively. Dodgers would be my third favorite stack against Waka. Anybody I think you can use in the stack. I don't really like using Rojas, but actually the last couple of games he's actually had some hits and some RBIs, so maybe he's starting to come around a little bit. And then the Dodgers or the Padres on the other side, I have them in the 150 max, but if you think Lance Lynn's going to have an off night, then definitely I'd take a stack. I wouldn't go like one-offs there at all. So I think that's all the games. Yep. So let's look at some lineups to get you on your way for your day. Like I said, so I have Verlander here, Fry, Bellinger, Horner, Arias, Chalkman. I am probably going to take Crow, Anderson in the outfield if he's there. Tauchman might not play. I will have to see what's going on. Like I said, I really had a hard time finding somebody for third base. But if you want to go like Verlander Wu or Verlander Lytle here, if you want to move some of these players around, you can put Bellinger in the outfield. You can only get 4 Cubs and not 5 in your lineup, but if you want to throw in, I think Krylov, Horner move down to shortstop, I believe, and put Julian here and take some of the left-handed Minnesota bats. That worked out well. And then again, I think third base was the hard one that I had filling with Wu in Minnesota there. And I think I ended up on like Biggio in that lineup there. For FanDuel, Verlander, and then I definitely went with because it's easier to get the left-handed Minnesota bats in here and get also who I want. So the Cubs, I'm taking their Bellinger, Tauchman, and Crow, Anderson. If Tauchman's not in, then you can go Suzuki or whoever else you want to go in that lineup. And that one worked out well and was pretty balanced. For GPP, give me Peralta, and then I'm just going to straight up stack the Arizona and Mets game. So Alonso or Walker there, Marte, Lawler, Caro, Nemo are the ones I'm focusing on. Fill in the rest. If you need to take a one off someplace or punt catcher, I'm fine with that. Same thing on FanDuel, pretty much the same ones, although I threw Mauricio at third because he's the one that filled in the best there, I think. And then on FanDuel, I have a note. If you take Lytle in a GPP, you can get a full Houston and Dodger stack, almost like all the bats that you want, taking some cheaper guys. And I think like maybe you need like an Outman or and taking like a Pena or something like that. But you can get 4 and 4. It looks really nice. And if you want to go like Lytle and we can get definitely a full Cub stack and then have some space to get some decent one-off bats or a mini stack in there. So what I got for you. As always, if you have any questions, put them in the chat below. Hit me up at MegaRoar31 on Twitter /X, whatever we're calling it nowadays. I just hope it goes back to Twitter at some point. Please. It makes more sense. Anyways, if If you want more information on FSi DFS, you can go to the description of the video, and there's a link to our website and everything's there. And thank you still for watching during football season. I know a lot of people going up on baseball. We just seen the contests go down, the viewerships go down, everything. But as long as still a couple hundred people are watching a day, we'll keep on continuing to make videos for you. So thank you for watching. If you want to help us even more, like the video, subscribe to our channel so you know when the videos are coming out, and share with your friends. So hope everybody has an amazing Tuesday. Good luck in your contest. I'll see you next time.